Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
This I was reading in, as you can see.
It's good. It's a good way of using a book.
You know, I really, it's very meaningful. And here you're saying everything you used to count on is leaving you. Your boundaries, your safety, holds, your walking sticks, and your life support systems. Everything has been taken away. And you said something about life has taught you how to work, how to live on crutches, you said.
Mm.
And you don't
Yeah,
really
in a
need
sense,
it.
yeah. I mean, the life of, for a while,
You need.
our life role as a person
Yes.
is, you know, although it appears that we're expanding, but we're expanding in a field of ignorance, in a sense, ignorant of the truth of who we really are. So blinded by that ignorance,
Yeah.
that we are just this person and I'm the individual and this is my life and I do what I want and so on.
Yes.
We are actually cultivating
Ego.
a lot of ego, a lot of limitations
Yes.
that is interpreted in the mind as a kind of freedom.
Yes, yes.
But you know, you are depending on a lot of things, but behaving as though you're not depending on anything,
yes.
in a sense. So this is called sleeping. This is called sleeping, and sleepwalking, sleep talking, sleep living, actually. And when you're in that state, nobody can tell you that you're sleeping. I mean, you just
No.
you don't know that.
It's very interesting because I spend a lot of time alone. I read and listen to music a lot, and I have a small practice of consulting, which brings in some money. And really, everybody sees it, and I have felt it to be really a great, great, great life, and I have a great, great, great wife. But the greatness of what is beyond
Yes.
any other thing.
And there is no one in that field who can appreciate it, even with the greatest intellect,
Yes.
even with the greatest
No.
experience,
Yes.
life experience or whatever it is. They cannot make that
No.
step. It's like you're still inside the dream. You cannot understand that, you know, because the mind works on a different, assesses things differently,
Right.
based upon its own conditioning and the norms of the.
It can't help you
Life.
be free of the mind. The mind
No.
isn't going to help you be free of the mind. Well, you've shown me, I mean, you, in my experience, you are such a loving presence of, I've always said, you know, heart master, ocean of love. It's beyond words. I always tell you, love beyond words. And there's no words for it. You, I don't have to tell you because you understand. You see me, you hear me, you're with me, you understand. You understand. And this is the ultimate of life, as far, and I want the ultimate of life. I don't want to stop short of the ultimate. No matter how tempting and sweet and enviable it might seem to everybody in my world around me.
And what is required also is that we really, at a certain point, the one who desires this must itself be either melting into the self-recognition
Yes.
that this is already so,
Yes,
this is
yes.
already so-ness,
Yes.
not from a mental
No,
posture,
I'm with you.
but just by a natural intuitive inner confirming. But what else? It cannot be other than
No,
or
right.
apart from
Nowhere to get to.
where and what I am. And I'm very cautious about saying things like that because there's an aspect of the mind that's very clever
Yes,
enough
yes,
to
yes,
say, yes, of
I'm
course,
on my
and
road.
you learn the language of
Yeah,
expressing that.
Yes.
And somehow that seemed to replace
Yes.
sometimes the dynamic experience of that really confirming itself inside itself. This is
moment by moment.
Yes.
That's what you've told me.
And you know, it is in this area where the words and the languages are not enough.
Yes.
But something is something, I would say, the beingness, because you are never not the beingness.
Of course.
But it's just how much we have adopted the mind and identified with our mental aspect that will determine how much we are still inside a kind of a dreamed
Yes.
life.
Yes.
But the mind is only standing on the shoulders of the being. It cannot.
Yes.
It cannot be something entirely apart.
Yes.
You know, because the very lungs of the mind is the being.
Yes.
You see, so once we know that the greater part of who we think we are as mind or personality is the beingness,
Yes.
without which there is not even the shadow of mind.
Yes.
And there is a coming into the recognition of this that is taking place. And gradually we come to see that the mind is just an exaggeration, conceptual exaggeration that's taking place, amplified by belief.
Yes. And energy and attention.
You see, and that somehow we, the beingness,
Yes.
have been somewhat, if I can say, under a spell or a kind of hypnosis.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
In the belief that I am the person, I'm the body,
Yes.
this is my life, I'm moving in my own direction, I'm the creator of my own life.
I'm getting very close.
You see?
But
Yeah,
still apart.
I'm getting very close. And, all that. And you know what happens is, because recently I had a talk with someone who I felt had come to a point of seeing, but couldn't get off the wooden horse
Yes.
of the mind
Yes.
that keeps on wanting to, you know, kind of like
Yes.
to work something out and keep making these grand sort of affirmations and cleverness, and for me had overshot the mark, because in the real seeing empties itself out of all concepts
Yes.
and abides in itself only as perennial peace. And this is that. Out of that stillness or silence, then spontaneously, if an interaction occurs, there's a spontaneity in that. It's not a learned reaction.
Yes.
There's something fresh about it.
Yes.
It's not that the beingness doesn't have to be original. It has no concept about these things. It somehow is as effortless as breathing.
Yeah.
In terms of responding, the response that happens,
Yeah.
it is as effortless as that. And there is the intuitive recognition that, but it's enough. And that is what is really appearing as effortlessness. Because so much of our ego identity is burdened with effort. Sometimes we're even loving the sense of effort because it intensifies the sense of personal achievement, that we've
Getting
achieved something.
somewhere.
But there's an easiness in all of this. I found that even in our relative existence becomes still the wholeness of existence. Even in the relative is still it still have the absoluteness about it. You see?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It's not that, oh, you know, but that doesn't exist, that's nothing, forget about that. It's almost like we are afraid of that.
Yes.
And it's not. This is it arises as the consciousness in its human expression, and that's a part of it. It's not a mistake.
Right.
It's simply it's a design. It plays like this. The only mistake, if there is one, and there is one, is the tendency of the being to fall under the spell of the belief that it is a separate, autonomous being moving on its own, and that's sort of seen through. But still, your family still exists. The friendships are there, but they are now compelled by the power of your own seeing.
Yes.
The dynamics of the interactions will change.
Yes.
Some will drop off.
Yes.
Others will expand. Others will
Yes.
intensify.
Yes.
There'll be all of this, but you, in your own deeper knowing, will be aware that it just has to be so, and this is perfect in its own way. Even if tears come out of it,
Sure.
you know, joy comes, whatever
Sure.
the playing out,
Yes.
whatever form it takes, that it is still somehow there's a perfectness about it, that each one will draw from the holy river what they can take.
Yes.
And that is happening. I don't have to point a finger to them. We're out to do that,
Right.
because they are being pushed back not deliberately, sometimes just spontaneously, and to experience the truth from a primal place again, inside. If you encounter, in a sense, if I can just say that, as you lose your person face,
yes,
and again,
yes,
that is dissolving in the greater space of who you are, there is the presence begin to reflect something deeper, mystical. I call it like this. It's not that you continue outside just being, something is different about you. You have a different energy, a presence is different.
yes, yes.
That even if you don't speak,
The emanation.
people are drawn. Some people, they're drawn to that, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously. Something is pulled. There's a power about it. It's like if you are sitting in this room, and suddenly we are talking all familiar talk about all things and so on, about the world, and suddenly a lion walks into the room. The energy is going to change. The way that something happens inside you, and you cannot have a discussion with a lion about football. There's something will be very, very different, and this it might seem a great exaggeration, but something happens inside people when they encounter one who was come out of the mist inside. It's like something detonates inside in the encounter. It's not just words. We have we give so much importance to words, but the words are little compared to the presence in which they arise, out of which they arise, and which is the parent of the word, the source of the belly of the words themselves.
Yes.
And this is something that...
and either it resonates to the person deeply or it doesn't.
Yes. Where I'm going with this is that we must not be afraid to completely vanish inside ourselves. Meaning, from the person. Don't hang on to the remnants of the meanness. It's okay, because there's a little bit of fear that the personality is just a part. And so who sees this personality? The one who is recognizing that begins to see the flimsiness of that, the shallowness of that.
Yes.
And that it's only a shadow, and there's no attention, there's no investment, there's no following behind that. And so all of this just gets drained out by itself. It's not I have an image of what I should become.
Right.
No. It's just we see that, but that is not a truth.
No,
it is not requiring continued attention to have some conflict with that expression or not. It just leaks out. It's not true.
Yes.
Whatever happens to you, let's see.
Yes.
But something inwardly is purged of these limitations.
Yes.
And that force is very active in your communion, your connection with other beings, very spontaneously in the play of existence. It's like this. Whether that be wife or children or whatever it is.
At home, I have a nice home at home in California. And not super upper class, but fairly nice area. And it's an ocean community, and it's not like New York or Los Angeles. It's very mellow, it's very quiet. And we go down to Mexico to a little fishing village. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden I'm in a little flat, sharing everything with the bathroom and everything with 3 other people. It was kind of noisy. Somebody had the music on, it was shaking the whole room. And I went in the kitchen to make myself some tea, and I thought it was a few community cups, and the girl said, this is my cup you're using. Everybody has to have their own cups. Mm. So I said, I'm very sorry, I'll get my own cup. So is a very different. I've stepped into a dramatically different life, very totally, but it's still wellness predominates. And when I get on the bus or whatever, I didn't have the right change. Twice the fellow said, don't worry, don't worry. When I ask for directions, everybody stops. So let me tell you, I feel like the universe is directing me and responding to me very lovingly, automatically.
The universe
is me.
I want to say that, yes, I mean, there are times when you will bump your foot.
Of course.
You'll trip over. All these things are part.
Sure.
And so that on one level, it can appear to be a very leveled playing field. And that is okay.
Yes.
You know, for as long as that serves the consciousness to recognize that in each body is not more special than another body, for instance, although it is unique in its experience of itself as existence and of otherness,
Yes.
It still somehow, there's something that keeps us level, because there's an inclination within the human experience and form to feel that we're special, or we're being singled out for special treatment. And there are times when it's clear. I mean, the special treatment is that you are free. The special thing is that you are free, and somehow in that freedom, we don't divorce ourselves from the world.
Right.
But on the contrary, it seems as though your being becomes all-inclusive. The outpouring of compassion, which is an expression of consciousness in its play of relativity and duality, it is a beautiful expression of consciousness, which you may feel it is the self loving itself, appreciating itself.
Yes.
Not doing a favor to itself.
Right,
you understand?
right.
So all of this is seen more and more with the gentleness and with love and appreciation. That the one who is privileged enough to be in the position of acting as a giver feel the privilege of the sense of giving, the joy of the play of giving.
Yes.
But don't take it too far.
Right.
It doesn't become dramatic or so on.
Yes. Yes.
But it is true that when the ego, which creates a lot of clutter,
Yes.
and a lot of chaos,
Yes.
you know, and who in its forcefulness overlooks the grace of the cosmic unfolding, when that is removed, of course life flows more lighter, because life takes care of life. Even in dying, it takes care of the life.
Yes. Beautiful.
And so from this point of view, I'm saying that yes, it will be experienced. I'm happy when people, they report that, but wait a minute, things seems to flow more. I feel much more joy from people. Is it true? Yes, it is true. It is true, because in the past you were not perceiving that was available to you, because you were living more in the identity of a person who needs to be special, who is projected what needs to be good for me, and running after that, and all the grace of life was a blind spot for you. You were not seeing it.
Yes.
And now, freed of this limitation, freed from that identity, and experiencing yourself in your expanded state, in your effortless being, you're actually learning to see. You're coming into just seeing things as they are, without the intrusion of how they should be from the perspective of a limited person, the limited personal view. And so this feels like the grace showing itself, like, you know, my God, but this is beautiful. And is it happening for others? Yes, it is, but they're not seeing it.
Yes.
So the gratitude is not being expressed that could be expressed.
Yes.
And who is that gratitude for? It is the self is in appreciation for for itself, you know. And this is the beauty, I feel, that is missed. It's not that we have to go and create other beauty outside yourself, but to discover that how much our own self-obsession as a person and independence and so on eclipses that intuitive recognition of the spaciousness of being, the grace of being, the love of being, the freedom of being, all of this thing.
And the contact in that is moment to moment, without projection, without plans, without tomorrow, without where the next thing is, or anyone to get to the next thing.
What I would say is that even this concept of moment to moment
Yes.
itself somehow blows away in the indescribable,
Okay.
you know,
Being.
supreme being. Because moment to moment is soon being held by, you know, this thing and that thing and this event and that event, which are themselves. They are the play of the mind, of course. The play of mind. And it's okay. I don't.
Yes, yes.
Mind is not a dirty word for me.
Yes.
But it's just that that is the field of limitation.
Yes.
And it is okay. It will continue to be this, in a way. This, even that limitation, you will see, as eyes are cleaned, that the limited expression, the limited world, the actual world, the factual world, the tangible world, the material world,
Yes.
are, you know, is an aspect of the divine expression. It is all the divine. This is freedom for me. Rather than pushing things off and say, no, we are just looking, it is not. As long as the mind is engaged in the relationship with objects, people, and intention and dreaming, then it is in denial of its completeness. When it is sufficiently mature, you may say, to recognize its own completeness, already so-ness, completeness, then the obsessions to try and convert or to change or manipulate, that will fall away. And that arises as great ease and peace, as so many of us are experiencing and can confirm for ourselves. We don't need to be told so much, sometimes reminded, but you're feeling that. You're in the energy and the Shakti of that experience that is confirming, no? And is allowing the beingness to free itself from all this psychological noise, all this individual and egoic, kind of cravings and noise.
Yes. So even the drama that I wrote out to you with the wife, marriage, the home, everything, all that drama is just that movement in the fullness, gratefulness, gracefulness, already fulfilledness.
Yes, it becomes subtler and subtler and becomes less and less significant.
Yes.
Because, in a sense, as we are thinking, in a way, the mind is writing itself in your memory. As we hold to a particular perspective.
Oh, okay.
And in some way, we are creating and giving a kind of factuality to what is only a potential through thought, So gradually, depending on how much we are still functioning with a strength of belief in our person and our personal life, it will appear to be that life is predominating. That life is what's real. That's the life I have to deal with.
I see. Yes, I'm with you.
As the attention is dropping again into its source, into the heart, the focus on the terrestrial existence becomes softer and softer and thinner, and is replaced just by the sense of being, which is not calculating. It is just it's felt as presence and joy, and it doesn't have a job of such, but in its presence you're on I would use the word to say you're on a higher level of perception and being, in the sense that you moved out of the donkey mind, out of the donkey work.
I like that.
And so your way of perceiving now is some in contemplating truth. It is sufficient to reveal the inherent harmony that is there, and to blow off the cobwebs of the accumulated, skills and identities and all of that, which is not really in service to truth. It's just pure imagination.
So the arisings are like writing in water.
Yes, we can talk about them more just in passing. Yeah. They are not the headlines anymore.
Yes. Yes.
You see, because
Yeah,
you can be
yeah.
living behind the headlines,
Yes.
and this is what's happening to me, and this is my life, and
drama.
and this thing. Yes,
The
yes,
drama.
and it's like being in that.
Yes, yes, yes.
And if you are not aware of yourself, you cannot help being in that.
Yes, yes, yes.
You see, this is what people share. When people say, let's share,
yes,
they're sharing their dramas.
Yeah.
They're not sharing their truth.
Yes, yes, yes.
You're not sharing your insights. You're sharing your dramas. It's like this is what happens. And for the human expression of consciousness as personality, this is that creates all the noise and the separation. And there's a sort of pride in individuality and all of that, you see. So how is it going to learn? It's not until that I can say somehow grace opens up itself in a certain form as a person. It's like the spell of the sleep is not broken. We will just continue. And somehow there isn't for me an emergency to change that, because that is also will come into its own organic change in its own time. We are not so concerned about that.
You said something in the book about grace having more room to breathe when there's no restrictions.
Yes. You see, in a way, I can say grace cannot suffer any hindrance from anything at all, because it cannot. It's just a way of expressing something in that context. But in the subtlety of our own inner experience, it can feel like, yes, as long as we keep on focusing on the personal aspect, in the personal mind, innumerable obstacles seems to come up.
Yes.
Because one of the attributes and tendency of that mind is to constantly be speculating what the next move should be, what is the next kind of the next thing to look forward to. And from the place of being, there is no need to look forward to anything. Not really, I mean, maybe playfully, but there's no investment in that. Because you are so use the term moment to moment. Yeah, moment to moment, there's just a completeness, a sense of completeness. And we're using words now for really a wordless experience.
No, yes, I'm not with you.
There is just that. It's not that it's constantly, working on itself. There's a time when it spontaneously, naturally, there's an urge arises, a wave arises within that the attention focuses very strongly on looking at some seed concepts and burn them in that looking.
Right.
There's a moment when that is there. I would not try to cultivate and force that. Right. More, there's an intuitive. This is just the intuitive vibration of being, which is what we are, and the movement of the vital force in the body is taking place in that very effortless space and presence. It's just happening.
What just became clear as I was listening to you, my whole life as a psychologist was communication, understanding, promoting communication. And when I was just listening to you just this minute, I thought I understood only the I needs understanding.
Yes.
The fullness needs nothing.
You are correct in this.
Only the I.
Yes.
The drama I. And it wants to be understood.
Yeah.
Please understand what's happening to me.
It's an exaggerated state because, in fact, the pure being is beyond the understanding range of what the individual seeks. Pure harmony is not missing anything. It doesn't really. You may say that it is playing as this human experience to enjoy the taste of and the play of understanding through the human instrument.
Yes.
The play of self-recognition through the human experience or something like this. But it's not because it's lost its way really. It even has to invent the feeling of being lost
Being lost.
in order to enjoy the feeling of being found, or something like this. I can, it can,
Yes.
you see,
yes,
and
yes.
I don't talk in this way for too long,
Yeah.
because for as long as it's useful, just to clarify again. And of course, sometimes we speak about these things because there's a natural joy in looking at ourselves in this way through the ability of our intellects. Is another way in which the self enjoys itself, isn't it? You know. But sometimes it can appear to be, you know, self-indulgent, and you know, in a sense, I like the rest of the restfulness of the beingness, which is not onto a task.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, okay.
Or somehow
Dealing with anything.
you know, having this sense that there's something to solve. You see, isn't it our real joy that we transcend that obsession and that type of neurosis, that there's something to keep on solving,
Yes.
and something to dissolve.
Oh,
and,
yes.
you see,
Oh,
and so we allow clear eyes for seeing that we already confirm that we, but this is already so about
Yes,
it.
I see.
And sometimes there's just a subtle fear in the mind that if I come to stillness, I'm going to be bored. There's nothing to do. So at least
Some drama, a little bit of drama.
it can be said a bit like this. I wonder sometimes, you see, because sometimes you listen to people and it seems like we are in a loop of talking about this because that's what we do. It
Yes.
becomes our career. It becomes your purpose. It becomes your pastime, and
I sit in the restaurant and I see people sit down.
but people are doing it who who are into non-duality also. They're very much into non-duality, but with full power discussing non-duality. And I think, through what medium are you discussing non-duality? You see, it's like this. A little bit of the poison can be used as a vaccination.
Yeah,
But too much of it, and you're going to be in hospital.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. What to say? Thank you.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare